Put it under ultraviolet light, and if this happens, that means COVID-19 is present. This is a new technology developed by Japanese scientists. Face mask filters are coated in ostrich antibodies and will glow around the nose and mouth area when exposed to ultraviolet light if COVID-19 is detected. A team at the Kyoto Prefectural University came up with the idea after previous research showed the birds have strong resistance to disease. The university's president, Yasuhiro Tsukamoto, hopes this technology will help reduce asymptomatic transmission.
If asymptomatic people wear these masks all the time, I think it's good, because they can find out if they have COVID. So basically, the advantage of this mask is that asymptomatic people can easily detect the coronavirus.
In a small study, test subjects wore the ostrich antibody mask filters for 8 hours. They were then removed, sprayed with a chemical and tested under ultraviolet light. Now the team hopes to go one step further and develop the masks so they will automatically glow without special lighting once the virus is detected. And it may not be long before you can get your hands on one. Tsukamoto says his team plans to merchandise the masks by July 2022.
Our guest today is Tsukamoto Yasuhiro, a doctor of veterinary medicine and president of Kyoto Prefectural University. Tsukamoto works with antibodies, which have the ability to neutralize viruses. He extracts antibodies from ostrich eggs, which he uses to develop treatments to prevent viral infections from influenza, SARS, MERS, Ebola, and more. In 2020, his company began the commercial sale of face masks designed to help protect against the novel coronavirus. He's developed similar antibody masks for other diseases in the past. To date, he's sold 120 million units. He's also conducting joint research using ostrich antibodies with Harvard University and the U.S. Army. Tsukamoto's work has attracted much attention and interest from around the world. He spoke to us about the potential of his research.
I've been taking care of ostriches for more than 20 years now, and the birds are just not very bright. For example, they still don't recognize me. They have a very short memory span. In fact, they've come at me aggressively. I've gotten drop-kicked. I've even gotten my leg broken before. They're bird brains, but they have a hidden power inside of their bodies. And I think that hidden power has the potential to save humanity.
This is the ostrich antibody face mask Tsukamoto developed to protect against the novel coronavirus. The surface of the mask is coated in antibodies extracted from ostrich eggs. These antibodies help block the virus.
Genetic information about COVID-19 was made public in early 2020. We used that to genetically engineer coronavirus spike proteins, those protrusions on the surface of the virus. We then inoculated our ostriches with the antigens, which created antibodies in their bodies. We then extracted those antibodies from their eggs. Then we conducted experiments to test effectiveness. Our masks are thoroughly coated with antibodies.
The company's anti-COVID-19 masks hit the market in April 2020. Prior to injecting his ostriches with the detoxified spike proteins, Tsukamoto made it a point to test the antigens on himself.
I started my career studying infectious diseases. Whatever we develop, I feel the need to test it out myself first. So I inoculated myself and conducted blood tests to see if I had produced antibodies. Our ostriches are very important to us, so we want anything we inject into them to be safe, to be properly tested.
Tsukamoto's work would not be possible without his beloved ostriches. Why are antibodies extracted from them particularly effective against infectious diseases? And how did he come to work with the animals? He says that his childhood experiences steered him toward veterinary medicine.
As a child, I had a bad stutter. When I was
9, he became a lecturer at his alma mater. It was around this time that he became interested in the world's largest bird, ostriches, as a possible subject of study.
Right around that time, BSE, also known as mad cow disease, had become a big issue. There was a panic, and people started avoiding beef and looking for alternatives. South Africa started to export ostriches worldwide. Even here in Japan, you saw many small ostrich farms pop up. I thought they were interesting birds and maybe wanted to have one as a pet if I could.
Tsukamoto heard about a nearby ostrich farm from an acquaintance and began visiting the farm to quietly observe the flock.
I just watch. I wasn't treating the animals. They must have thought I was a bit creepy. Sometimes I'd be in my lab coat. I must have looked like a strange religious follower or something. Then one day, I heard that there was something wrong with one of their ostriches, and I'm a veterinarian, so I treated the bird. That's when they found out I knew what I was doing, and I won their trust.
Tsukamoto became the chief veterinarian of the ostrich farm. Adult male ostriches are around 2.5 meters tall and weigh about 160 kilograms. Although they cannot fly, they can run at speeds of up to 60 kilometers an hour. Tsukamoto took an ethological approach to his work, observing the ostrich's everyday behavior.
Ostriches are considered dangerous animals, and research into dangerous animals tends to lag behind considerably. There are people who ask, why are you trying to get so close to these dangerous animals? But if you ask me, the question is, why not? I love birds, so I'm comfortable doing what others may not want to do.
Even after 5 years of observation, Tsukamoto was unable to identify any regularity in the ostrich's behavioral patterns from an ethological perspective.
I concluded that ostriches are simply not very bright. These are birds that sometimes step on their own eggs. Or on sunny days, they'll see their own shadow, assume it's a threat, and chase it endlessly. If you keep ostriches in a wide area, they'll form families. When the families collide, they can get switched around. The mothers will switch places, or the kids, and none of them realize.
Apart from this, Tsukamoto began to suspect the birds had strong immune systems.
The average lifespan of an ostrich is 60 years. It's quite astonishing. Part of that is they're strongly built. Watching them, I realized that their injuries heal very quickly. Even when they get grievously injured, the wounds quickly close up and heal. It's also amazing how rarely they get infections. In my line of work, we use antibodies to study infectious diseases, and I began to suspect their bodies were good at creating antibodies. So I injected them with a detoxified pathogen to see what would happen. Around 2 weeks later, blood tests revealed a high number of antibodies. It was incredible. And it turned out those antibodies were also very good at fighting off viruses, so I knew we were on to something.
Up until then, antibodies were manufactured using animals, such as mice and rabbits. It could cost over $1 million to produce just 1 gram's worth of antibodies. And in order to secure the necessary quantity, host animals were killed so that all of their blood could be harvested. Tsukamoto endeavored to find a way to harness the power of his beloved ostriches without killing them. He developed a way to extract the antibodies from the animals' eggs.
Birds lay eggs, and I hypothesized that antibodies would be passed on in order to protect the baby bird. So I inoculated a female ostrich, and that bird laid an egg around 2 weeks later. We managed to extract antibodies from the egg and found they were highly concentrated and pure. We realized they create antibodies easily. We can obtain about 4 grams of antibodies from 1 ostrich egg yolk, and the birds lay about 100 eggs a year. To get an equivalent amount, you'd need about 1,000 rabbits. As you can see, the ostriches produce an incredible amount of antibodies.
Tsukamoto had discovered a way to mass-produce ostrich antibodies. In 2008, he became a professor at Kyoto Prefectural University and founded a university-launched startup. The company released face masks coated with ostrich antibodies that fight influenza viruses. In just 1 year, it sold 4 million masks, representing 20 billion yen in revenue.